Wait, what? I did it? I did it! Yes! Let's go! What's up, guys? Phoenix Chess here. Today I'm going to be commentating on my game versus International Master Playful Squirrel. So he plays knight c3, I play e5, I guard the pawn with my knight because he attacks it. Him being Playful Squirrel, he takes the pawn because that's Playful Squirrel's signature move. He takes the pawn in the opening for a better position. So I move my knight back because there's really no other squares to go, so I don't have it trapped. And in this position, I am happy with my advantage in material, but not so happy at my position because I'm behind in development. He's immediately taking the center, so I decide to play bishop to b4 instead, because if I went knight f6, he would have pushed the pawn, attacked my knight, and I would have to do a reverse move, and that doesn't really sound good right now. So he moves bishop d4, which is a natural move, and then he castles, and as you can see right now, he has way better solid position in the center. I have two development pieces. He's already into his castle, so the position is not as good for me as it is for him, but I am up a knight. Okay, he goes knight e2, which I'm thinking that he's going to plan to move knight f4 in the future to trade off knights, so I immediately pin it. And he, of course, kicks my bishop out because he really wants to go knight f4, trade off the knights, and then get a development of the bishop in the process. So I move back naturally. He attacks my bishop. He does the no parking sign, as my best friend Zach would say. And he immediately moves to pawn c4 to attack my bishop, trying to trap it, which is a really solid move because his pawns aren't overextending. His bishop perfectly protects the c4 pawn plus the e4 pawn. So I make some breathing room for my bishop so he can't trap it. But as you can tell, this is a really bad situation for me because he's controlling every single square in the center. All of his pieces are active. He moves his king so the pawn isn't pinned, the pawn on d4. I think he's planning on moving his pawn to d5. That could be his idea because now he knows my bishop has an escape square, so I don't know that he'll attack it or not. I castle because I want to get my king out of this situation with all this pawn storming going on. I was thinking about castling queenside for a second there, but all the pawns are on that side. Bishop b2 is a really, really good move. It's strong, and once he pushes d5, his bishop has x-ray vision, which is exactly why I pushed c6, because I didn't want him pushing d5. I immediately push up because I want to break his pawn structure in this situation because it's pretty deadly. If I were him in this position, it's really good to trade the pawns because then all of his pieces are opened up and have good files. He's trying to kick out my knight, which I do not like at all. My knight has no squares. And as you see, he's pawn storming. My pieces can't go anywhere. My queen can go barely any spaces. At this point, I'm just trying to get rid of all of his pawns because they're destroying my position right now. He is below on time, 1 minute, but his position makes up for it. Defending that pawn again because he does not want to trade it off. It is a pretty deadly pawn. I do trade it, but I don't know if I really like that move that I did in the situation because then his rook has an open file, and then once he starts pushing pawns, it kind of opens everything up, and I probably should not have done that. If I could redo a move, that's probably what I would have redone. And also now he's threatening bishop takes g6 because my knight, once he takes it and I take back, I have doubled pawns on my king's side, which is horrible. At this point, I believe that he is just planning a complete attack on my king to destroy my position because once he starts pushing those pawns, I have to move my pieces out of the way and then my king is wide open. As you can see, the diagonal on g8, f7, and then just that diagonal is completely open for checks. And I just traded the pawn. I sacked a piece because I can't stand his pawns there. I know it probably wasn't the best decision, but I I sacked for the pawns because they're pretty deadly, and he won a piece by trading and then picking up my free knight, which I can't believe I blundered that, but he is lower on time than me, so I hoped that I would be able to win on time. In this position, I was planning on trading queens because his queen is pretty deadly, but then I was like, maybe not, because once he trades queens, he'll just be up a piece in the end game, and any international master can come back after that. But I did decide to trade queens because his bishop diagonal is looking very complicated. Once his queen moves to e5, he's threatening mate in 1, and I really don't like that. I'm still threatening once his queen mate isn't a threat. I was threatening to go queen d2 because that would fork the pieces, but he moved that out of the way knowing that I would go rook e8, excuse me. And now he's just threatening my g6 pawn, my g7 pawn. He's threatening everything, and mate is almost inevitable. I was thinking about moving queen d2 because I'm threatening his bishop, and his knight is a pin now, so I can work with that. You always want to put pressure on a pin piece, so I was threatening f8, rook f8, because that threatens it even more. But now my bishop is hanging. He can take my bishop, but I'll just take his bishop. He took that pawn because if I took with the king, he can check with the queen, and then take g6 check. And then when I move out of the way, mate is almost inevitable, so I didn't take. I moved rook e1, which is a very complicated move. I was really stressed at this point whether I was going to win, because if he takes e1 with his rook, it's back rank. If he doesn't, I take his rook with back rank. And if he guards with the queen, I can just start threatening things because he's low on time and there's tons of pins and stuff. But now I'm up a queen, up 4, and I think this is pretty much winning for me because he has 14 seconds. My time is also running low though, so at this point I was trying to do decent moves to run his clock and hopefully try to pick up pieces with my queen, like the pawn. I also had 20 seconds, so my time pressure was pretty low. And I won, actually, the game against International Master Playful Squirrel. Got 16 rating, and I won on time, but I also was winning by a lot of material, and I would have pushed and promoted. Anyway, that was a great game against International Master Playful Squirrel. If you want to see more videos like this one, please like and subscribe, and next week I'll be putting out another chess video of me playing a titled player.